And hi, if you're new here, I'm Jade, and today I have a huge book haul. I'm so excited to be doing my first huge book haul on my booktube. I do usually get a few new books every month, but I just don't usually get enough. I feel like it's worth its own video. But this month, I got a crazy amount, if you couldn't tell by the thumbnail. So I'm sure you're all wondering, the exact number, I'm pretty sure, because I tried to give it a quick count, is 39 books. So there will be 39 books in this whole video. So if you haven't already, maybe go make yourself a cup of coffee, your favorite tea, grab anything. I just have my water because I am teaching later. I'm a singing teacher, if you didn't know, so this is important for me. But yeah, you might want to grab something because this is probably going to be a little long. But long story short, it was my birthday this month, and also there's been lots of sales going on and things like that, and I've just kind of ended up getting more than I probably should. But I feel like I got really good deals, and this is a really good way to refill my TBR card because I have already read 30 books this year. So I feel like I'm doing okay, and now I'm putting 39 on it. So I mean, yeah, it's slightly imbalanced, but you know, we're gonna do it. It's fine. It's fine. But I'm sure those of you that love books as much as I do just know the adrenaline rush you get when you have a lovely haul like this. So yeah, I will try not to talk too much. As I said, this is probably gonna be a bit of a long video, but you know, if I aim for like a minute per book, that's 39 minutes of book talk. Do you think I can keep it that short? Do you? Let's try. So this video is basically every physical book I got in March. I'm not including ebooks. I don't get many of those anyway. They're usually like gifted ones for me to review. So yeah, I'm not going to talk about those. So speaking of gifted to share, let's start with the art copies I received to review. Some books in this haul, by the way, I would have already read by the time this video goes up, but most of them I wouldn't have done. So you will see these on my upcoming videos, but my March wrap up will be soon, and you may see a couple of these up here. Okay, so starting with the arcs, the first one I received was this one, which is The Library at Hellbore by Cassandra Khaw. I was really excited to be gifted this because this seems really good. I think it's like a fantasy horror. I'm not really a horror reader. I read a lot of thrillers, but the actual like horror genre specifically, I actually haven't really read any horror, so I don't really know what to expect from this, but I think the fact that it mixes with fantasy will be a really good way in for me to try horror books. So I am super excited to read this one. Just a quick summary of what it's about. It says the Hellbore Technical Institute for the Gifted is the premier academy for the dangerously powerful, the Antichrists and the Ragnaroks, the World Eaters and Apocalypse Makers. Hellbore promises redemption, acceptance, and a normal life after graduation. At least, that's what Alessa Lee is told after she's kidnapped and forcibly enrolled. But the Institute is more than just a haven for monsters. On graduation day, the faculty embark on a ravenous rampage, feasting on their students. Trapped in the school's cavernous library, Alessa and her surviving classmates must do something they were never taught: work together. If not, this school will eat them alive. So, yeah, you know now as much as I do about what this is going to be about, but I'm excited to try it. Oh, and that's out in July, by the way, so I think I'm going to leave that a little bit before I read it so that I can kind of, you know, get my review out there before it's released, but a little bit nearer the time. And the other arc I received was Last Night Was Fun by Holly Michelle, which essentially is a romance. I think it's like an enemies to lovers. Having a quick read of the, the blurb, I would say basically it is about two colleagues that are rivals, and then they end up texting each other, not knowing that it is each other because someone's given one of them a fake number and they message the other person. I don't want to give away too much, but then basically they obviously like fall for each other. It's a bit of a romance. So yeah, enemies to lovers romance from what I gather. So yeah, so let's move on to what I got for my birthday, that part of this haul, so you can see what I was gifted. So all of the books I got for my birthday I did pick, by the way, because I think people would struggle to buy for me otherwise, not knowing what I'd read and what I hadn't. But first off, we have Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, which my mom got me. And basically another romance. If you haven't read Abby Jimenez, she is great at writing really good romances. Like, yes, they're a little cheesy, they're romance, but I feel like she kind of gets the balance right. So like, I don't feel like her books are too cheesy. I mean, I'm saying this based on the fact that I've read one novel and one short story by Abby Jimenez, but I really loved Part of Your World. If you watched my last book reading wrap up, that's what they're called. If you read my February reading wrap up, you would have seen me talk about that book. So I got yours truly. And from what I gather, it's of course a love story about a doctor who's going through a bit of a hard time, and I think she kind of strikes up a romance with her new colleague. So yeah. By the way, if any of the books mentioned here you've read and you think are really good, or you think I'd like something similar, please let me know in the comments, because I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Let me know what your favourites in this whole haul are. So next is 5 Survive by Holly Jackson, which my mum got me. I really wanted to try this one by Holly Jackson because I loved A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, but then as the series progressed, I wasn't a huge fan, but I love the premise of this. So what I gather is it's set over the span of 8 hours, and it is literally split into these 8 hours, and I don't think I've ever read a book that's set over such a short timeline, so that really piques my interest. I think it's a bit of like a murder mystery kind of thing, where one of them's probably the target, they all get trapped and they have to figure out, you know, if any of them are lying, who is the target, etc, etc. I'd like to say, because it's called 5 Survive, one of them's probably going to die, because I know it says 6 friends, 5 survive on the back, but who knows. I'm excited to try it. Let me know if you have read it, but please don't spoil anything, obviously. Okay, so the next book is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I see this book everywhere, so I had to ask for it. It is, I think, a dark fantasy. I think it's a bit of a romantasy. I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about the plot. I've just seen so many people talking such good things about it, which is why I asked for it. But yeah, looking at this, it's about trying to save the kingdom of some kind of magic. I don't want to say too much more, read too much more, or spoil this for me, but I'm sure a lot of you have read this, and if you haven't, go read the reviews and stuff, because it sounds amazing. So I'm really looking forward to this, and you know, it will crop up sometime in one of my wrap-ups. And then the next book is Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig, which is the second part to it's called the Shepherd King series. So yeah, hopefully I like the first part and then I like the second. Obviously, I don't want to read and spoil anything for myself or for anyone who hasn't read the first part like me. But yeah, that is another book that I got. Then next I got Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. I have wanted to read this for such a long time. I've seen it in so many like thriller Facebook book groups that I'm in, and so many people have recommended this book. And so it's just been something that I've been thinking about in my brain for a long time. And I was like, you know what? I should just ask for someone to get it for my birthday. So my husband got it for me. So what I gather, this book is about a woman who babysits a child who's a very talented artist for his age. But then one day he draws a dead body, and then it all sort of goes from there. It really doesn't say much more, but I'm quite excited. I think it might actually be classed as a horror, this one. So as I said, I've definitely read a lot in the sort of thriller mystery genre, but not many horrors. So this could be another one that leads towards that. Let me know what you think. Is this a horror? I don't know. But I'm excited to read it. And then the next book I got for my birthday is Jade City by Fonda Lee. This is the first book in the Green Bone saga. I don't know a lot about it, but I'm not going to lie, I picked it because it's called Jade City, and I'm called Jade, okay? And I like fantasy, so why not? But it has a small blurb on the back, so let's read it. For centuries, honourable Greenbone warriors have used magical jade to enhance their abilities and defend the island of Kekon from foreign invasion. Now the war is over, and a new generation vies for control of Kekon's bustling capital city. 4 siblings of the powerful Khaw family must prepare for battle, and the fragile peace between the clans is about to break. That's all it says, but I know it fits into the fantasy genre, and yes, I did just pick it for the title, okay? But I'm excited to try it. The next book I got for my birthday was Spark of the Everflame by Pen Cole. I know a lot of people have read this as well. Obviously, they got a publishing deal, so these are like the newer versions of the book. I never read them when they were self-published because they suddenly got really expensive and hard to get hold of. So I'm really excited to read this one because I know a lot of people love this series, and I think it falls into the romantasy category, which obviously I love. Definitely fantasy, at least. I know that much. So yeah, really excited to read this. Again, this one just has quite a short blurb, so we can read it. In a mortal world colonized by the gods and ruled over by the Descended, their cruel magic-wielding offspring, Dian Bellator yearns to escape the insular life of her poor village. Her mother's sudden disappearance and the discovery of a dangerous secret about her past offer DM an unexpected opportunity to enter the dark world of descended royalty and unlock the web of mysteries her mother left behind. With the dying king's handsome, enigmatic heir watching every move, and a ruthless rebel alliance recruiting her to join the growing civil war, DM will have to navigate the unwritten rules of love, power, and politics in order to save her family and all of mortal kind. So, sounds dramatic, sounds really good. So yeah, can't wait to eventually start this one. But I'm in the middle of so many series, I don't know if I should pick this up soon or not. Then I also got gifted Glow of the Everflame by Penkol, which is obviously the second part, and then Heat of the Everflame, which is the third part. The fourth part to this series is not out yet, so I don't have that because I don't even know when that's coming out, but I think it will take me a while to get to these anyway. But that was all of the books as part of the haul that I chose for my birthday. So let's move on to kind of what I call the next section. Okay, what I'm going to call the next section are books that have been gifted to me, but these weren't like ones I picked for my birthday. So actually all of these have been gifted off of Facebook groups that I'm in. You know, you get things like Wishlist Wednesdays, things like that. If you're not in any Facebook book groups that do this, I really suggest it. They're really good fun, and you can just like list your Amazon wish list up, and then people might randomly buy for you. It's just kind of like luck. But I always like to gift a couple of people. So each month I'll gift a few people a book, and then sometimes I get some, and I just love it. I just think it's really exciting when you don't know what you're going to get from like your whole list that you've compiled. So yeah, let me show you what people have gifted me this month because it's so cool. I love it. So the first book I got gifted was Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I have wanted to read this series for so long. I've just heard really good things about it. And I just think the cover is stunning with the shimmery kind of background. I don't know if you can really see that on the camera, but honestly, it's so pretty. But yeah, this is part of a trilogy, I believe. I think there's also a novella. To be honest, I don't know a lot about the series, but from what I gather, it's a little bit like I'm going to say like a circus thing. It's like a performance thing that happens every year. And I think our protagonist really wanted to go. She always wanted to go. Then she gets to go. And I think it's her sister. I could be wrong on this. I think her sister gets kidnapped, and like it kind of begins like a game where contestants have to try and find the sister. I think that's what happens. You might know more than me if you've read this book, but if not, you know, I don't want to read too much into it in case I spoil anything. But I'm just really excited to read this. Again, fantasy sort of genre. And then the next one I was gifted was The Serpent of the Night Wings, which is another first book in a fantasy series. Again, I don't know a super lot about this one, but I'm pretty sure it's based on vampires. I think it's vampires that are the main focus. It's been a while since I've read like a purely vampire kind of novel. And I think it's like got its own kind of competition games in it. Like, you know, quite a lot of fantasies do these days. But I am intrigued to see where this one goes. Then the next book I was gifted is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I have wanted to read this for so long. You know, I first saw it reviewed on one of my friend's Goodreads. I want to say about 2 years ago, and I was like, oh, I really want to try that. And then I also saw the same friend review Under the Whispering Door, and I was like, I just need to try some TJ Klune. So this was on my wish list, and someone picked it. So I am really excited to read this one. I feel like I want to read this one sooner than later because I've just wanted to read this for so long. So from what I gather, this book is another kind of fantasy, but I think it might have a thriller element. I'm not really sure, but I think there is a guy who works for some magical department. He's like a caseworker. He gets sent to the house in the Cerulean Sea to monitor 6 dangerous children to kind of determine whether they're going to be super dangerous and like bring about the end of the world or something like that, is what I gather it's about. Which just sounds like a really interesting concept to me. I don't know, it kind of reminded me of the Umbrella Academy. I mean, it's not, but if you've seen that show, it just kind of reminded me because it's like these children with powers were brought together and then they sort of made a family. This is a little bit different. They're already together and there's a guy going to assess them. But I don't know why. It just gave me that kind of vibe. And then the final book that I got gifted on one of the Wishlist Wednesdays was Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. I've read The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell and I love that. And I have one more Lisa Jewell on my TBR. And now I have this one. This one is about a girl that goes missing, and then I think her mother starts dating another guy, and his daughter is like the spitting image of her missing daughter. and then it also goes from there. So I don't know if it turns out she's the same person or something. I have no idea, but I generally, or at least from the other series that I read, I really enjoy Lisa Jewell, so excited to read this one. If any of you have read it and also read a lot of other Lisa Jewell, let me know how it compares. Let's move on to my general book buys of the month, like ones that I would say are like just standard full price books that I didn't particularly get on any kind of like deal. So the first one is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. This was actually my book club's March pick. I ended up getting it a little bit later into the month and reading it, but we only met literally a few days ago, right at the end of March. So yes, I have read this one already. It's about a woman who makes friends with an octopus. I know that sounds really bizarre, but honestly, it's really quite a heartwarming story. There's different perspectives and sort of stories that intertwine into one story, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I don't want to say too much, but it's a very heartwarming, cute little story. Also a little bit sad at times, but I really like it. If you want to hear more about it, you can watch my wrap-up video. And then the next book I treated myself to was First Time Caller by BK Borison. A little bit of a story of why I got this book for myself is my friend in the UK really wanted this cover for it and asked if I would get it and send it to her. So I did. You know, I'd never heard of the book or the author, I'll be honest. And then they hadn't got it in the local store, so I had to order it in for her to my house and then post it to her in the UK. Then basically, a couple of weeks after I'd sent it to her, I did see that they suddenly had it in the local store, and I was like, oh, of course they finally have it. I didn't really think much about it, but there's only one copy, and I was like, oh, that's cute. And then every time I went in the store, there's this one copy just sat there every time I go in, and I think I went in like 4 times over the space of March, and it was still there last week. So you know what? I thought, you know what? It's fate. It's telling me I should buy this book. So obviously I didn't really know anything about this. But I do know that BK Borison seems to be a very popular author. Like after my friend asked this, I saw everyone talking about this book. A romance, if you couldn't tell. And from what I gather, it's about some people that run this like romance hotline falling in love together. But yeah, sounds cute. And good to add another cute romance to my TBR because I feel like I'm getting a little low on those, although obviously I got Abby Jimenez. The next one I got was Watermoon by Samantha, Sotto, Yambao. I'm sorry if I really pronounced that really badly. I actually entered a competition to win a copy of this book like back in January, and then I found out I didn't win, so I actually ordered it for myself because it just really intrigued me. I also just love the word moon. I know that's really random, but I do. I just love the word moon, and anything with moon in, I don't know, it kind of makes me look at it. And I was like, you know, Watermoon just sounds cute and I want to read it. So yeah, I ordered it for myself. It took ages to come, and then I finally got it at the beginning of March or sometime in March. So I decided to read it. So yes, I have read this one. It is a really cute story. So it's a little bit like Before the Coffee Gets Cold when it starts, if you've ever read that. But this is set in a pawn shop and people can like sell their regrets. And then it leads to this whole like other world, and there is a bit of a romance element. There is exploration into the idea of like predetermination versus free will. There's some like deep themes in here, but said in a very kind of light, cute, fun, fantasy type way, I guess. But again, if you want to know more about this book, when my wrap up is posted very soon, probably like next week, go watch it and I will talk more about it. Then next we have Sunrise on the Reaping, which I feel was kind of like the book of the month that everyone wanted. I actually pre-ordered this from Barnes & Noble and then it never came. It actually did come about 2 days ago, but that's quite a long time after the book was released. So because mine had been so late and it was like stuck, you know, like when I was tracking the postage, it was like stuck in one place for like a week. So I just went out and bought it and read it. Absolutely loved it, by the way. For those that don't know, but they know the Hunger Games series, this follows the story of Haymitch and his series of the Hunger Games. I don't really want to talk too much about it. I will talk more about it on my wrap-up video, but I know there's a lot of people probably still reading this, still wanting to read this, so I don't want to talk too much about this, but it was amazing, okay? Then I bought The Housemaid's Wedding by Frieda McFadden. This is just a very short novella, so this was only a few dollars, but I bought it because I did read the second book this month, and I think you're supposed to read this between the second and the third, and I wasn't going to bother with this, but I don't know, then I just kind of felt like I wanted to, and I needed to put in an order for my book club's April read, so I just added this to the order and got it. obviously further into a series, so I'm not going to say anything about it and spoil anything. And then the final kind of like full price book I bought myself was this, which is Playground by Richard Powers. So this is my book club's April pick, but I wanted to get it quite quickly because I kind of got the impression it was longer than it is. I don't actually think it's as long as I thought. It's actually only, yeah, it's almost 400 pages, so it's a decent length. So I just wanted to make sure I had plenty of time to read it. I'll be honest, I don't know much about this at all, but I think it's about kind of colonizing the ocean, because obviously it's one of the places humans haven't colonized or managed to live. So I think it's kind of about the ideas of colonizing the ocean and what's possible. I guess it's quite a dramatic story. I don't really know, but please go look it up if it sounds interesting to you. This will obviously definitely be on my April wrap-up video, so in just over a month's time. I will be able to explain this more, but I don't want to look up too much because I kind of don't want to spoil it for myself. I kind of just want to read this one. Okay, and let's move on to the books I got in kind of like sales and discounts. I could have easily bought a lot more because after I got the ones that you're going to see, Target and Amazon did a 3 for 2 on their books. And I was so tempted, but I was really good, and I didn't actually order anymore. But we still have quite a lot here that I already got. So the next ones I actually got from a store here called Ollie's. I had seen many posts about them having a lot of Rebecca Yarros books. I unfortunately couldn't find any in there, but I did find a few books that I was interested in. So the first one is Elin, Hilderbrand, Endless Summer. I'll be honest, I don't know anything about this book, but I see Elin Hilderbrand's name everywhere lately. A lot of people talk about loving her romances. Like, a lot of people seem to love to reach for her books in the summer, and I am a bit of a seasonal reader, and this just feels like a great thing to read over the summer. And as you can see, it was only $3.99, so I decided to buy it. I'll be honest, I also don't know if this is like a book that I should be reading before or after any others, but I think it's a collection of short stories all sort of set around the summer, so I just thought it would be a cute summer read, and I could just try one of her books after seeing her name everywhere. And for those of you in the UK who are probably like, $3.99 is not like that cheap. $1 to a pound conversion, it is a good price, and for here, I will stress, is a really good price because books are expensive in the US. That is the worst thing for me about moving, is I miss shops like The Works in the UK where I could pick up brand new popular books for like £5. It's just not a thing here. Okay, so this is a really good price, and for anyone in the US, you all know this. So yeah, that's why I grabbed it. So the next book I found in Ollie's was They Both Die at the End. This was $4.99, but it's the hardback collector's edition. Again, I don't know much about this, but it's a book that's always kind of like piqued my interest, and I've heard a lot of people talk about. But from what I gather, 2 people are told they're going to die, and there's like an app to like meet people that are in the same boat, and then you can like go and have a fun day for like the last day of your life, which sounds kind of depressing, but kind of interesting and fun at the same time. I don't know. Let me know if you've read this one, because I'm really intrigued to hear people's thoughts, but of course, don't spoil anything for me. But yeah, because I know there's the first to die at the end, and I'll be honest, I wasn't sure what order I'm supposed to read them, but they had this one, and then Googling it, I think I am supposed to start with this one, so please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not going to pick this up straight away, so you've got time to tell me. And then the final book I got at Ollie's was The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. I have seen a lot of her books. I actually had The Priory of the Orange Tree on my wish list. That was the kind of one I was eyeing the most, but then I found this for $4.99 in Ollie's. As you can see, used to be a Target copy, but I think Target give like things to other sellers sometimes, and so does Walmart, etc. So this ended up in Ollie's, the discount store, and yeah, I've also heard really good things about the season. I have way too many like book ones of seasons because I am already in the middle of so many, but I don't know, it's just a lot of fantasy season books of what I want to read, so I end up with them all. This one is quite a short blurb, so let's read it. Says, the year is 2059. For 2 centuries, the Republic of Scion has led an oppressive campaign against unnaturalness in Europe. In London, Paige Mahoney holds a high rank in the criminal underworld. The right hand of the ruthless White Binder, Paige is a dreamwalker, a rare and formidable kind of clairvoyant. Under Scion law, She commits treason simply by breathing. When Paige is arrested for murder, she meets the mysterious founders of Scion, who have designs on her uncommon abilities. If she is to survive and escape, Paige must use every skill at her disposal and put her trust in someone who ought to be her enemy. So yeah, that's a quick summary of what this is about. I didn't know too much about what it's about, only that I've heard good things. So now I hope that if you got a nice warm drink, you have drunk it by now, because otherwise it is probably cold. But we are going into the last section of the video now, which is everything I got from a website called Book Outlet. Just a quick FYI on Book Outlet, in case you haven't heard of it. It is a sort of discount retailer, book retailer based in Canada, who ship to the US and Canada. So it's kind of the cheapest way usually to get books, but they tend to do sales every so often. So they do, I'd say, slightly better prices than say like Amazon most of the time. But if you buy from them when they do their sale, like they pretty much put most of their books on like $5.99, which is such a good price. And they're all brand new, but they are just like the discontinued stuff from other stores. Occasionally there can be very, 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 very small damages. Usually the only thing wrong is they'll have like a dot on the bottom, because stores, when they mark them as discontinued, often put like a dot with marker pen annoyingly on them. So if you want like your perfect copy, you may not get it, but like they're still really good unread copies of books. So I just think they're a really good value. That's just a quick FYI. Okay, so the first thing I got from Book Outlet is actually a trilogy. So we've got books 1, 2, and 3 here, which is the Inheritance Games collection. Again, a series I have heard such good things about and I've been really intrigued by. And I think they were selling, I think I got the set of 3 for like $14, I think maybe $15. So that worked out $5 a book. I'm pretty sure it's $15. There is a 4th book, but this is the original trilogy, and the 4th is like a side story about one of the characters, from what I gather. And I've also read a lot worse reviews on that, so I wasn't too bothered about having the 4th book, because the 4th one was on the set on Amazon, but I think the Amazon set was like $30. So this value-wise was just better, and even if I wanted to buy the other book separately later, it would work out cheaper. So just made total sense to get these. And just a quick summary of what they're about. So basically, I think this teenage girl is set to inherit a load of money, but she gets sent to this like family mansion, and she has to compete in a load of games to like prove her worth to inherit the money. So it's kind of like a series of games, I guess. Hence it's called the Inheritance Games. Then the next book I got was Anxious People by Frederick Backman. I have heard so many people talking about his books lately, especially Beartown, because I think that came out this year, I think. And I've just had so many people talking about it. I haven't ever read any of his books, but because I keep seeing his name everywhere, and they had this one, I was like, you know what, I'm going to grab it. It does have this one, the dot that I was telling you about, but literally other than that, it's in like perfect condition. So, I can't really complain. Actually, I say that. There's a slight crease on the side, if that counts. But yeah, this one just appealed to me because, I am an anxious person. I can't deny it. I am anxious. And what I gather this is about is a bank robbery and people get taken hostage, but then in this time they kind of end up opening up to each other, learning more about themselves. And I think it's kind of like an analysis of their personalities, kind of, I think. And obviously the person doing the robbery is also clearly quite unstable, I guess you could say. I mean, they're doing a bank robbery, and so I suppose it's all kind of like a psychological analysis of the characters, I think. But it sounds interesting, so I'm excited to read it. So next I got Never Lie by Frieda McFadden. I have read some of the Housemaid series now, and I've read The Teacher, and generally I really like Frieda McFadden because she's such an easy read. So when I just want something to pick up that I just know I'm going to easily get into and not have to think too hard, but like still enjoy, I really like Frieda McFadden books. I know she's a bit of a Marmite author. People seem to love her or hate her, but I've heard really, really good things about Never Lie. From what I gather, it's about a couple that move into a house and they find tapes from the person that used to live there, who's like a doctor, and then it kind of leads into this whole like murder mystery thing, I think. But yeah, let me know if you've read this one, because this is one of Frieda McFadden's books that's really intrigued me for a while, so glad to get my hands on it. I feel like some of you are going to laugh at the next book, but I got Paris Hilton's autobiography. I am a 90s kid, okay? So Paris Hilton was a huge huge part of my upbringing. She was everywhere, and I've seen some really sweet things of her lately with animals and things, and she seems like she has a really kind heart, actually, and I feel like she was just very portrayed in this sort of dumb blonde way back in the day, and I'm just really intrigued to hear her story. I've heard it's quite tragic, actually, at times, and I do like reading the odd autobiography, so I grabbed this one. Then I also picked up Bloodmarked, which is the second book in the Legendborn Cycle series. If you've watched my wrap-ups before, you'll know I read the first book in the series a little while ago, I think in February. This is the most damaged book I received. Yes, it has the dot, but also this page has been cut wrong, so I don't know if you can see, it's like goes down and like out of the book at the bottom, and then they tried to hide it by like folding it in. But I mean, it reads. I've like scanned. It seems to have all the pages. It's just literally a slight thing. Like if I just trim it along the bottom, it will be fine. But that's just to let you know. If you ever do consider ordering from Book Outlet, that you do sometimes get things that are slightly imperfect. But I'm like, the book's here, and it's the cheapest way I'm going to get hold of it. So I'm still happy with it. As this is the second book in the series, I'm not going to talk too much about it, but essentially in the first book is about a girl who discovers she has magical powers, and it leads into this whole drama that's based around the legend of King Arthur. That's all I'm going to say. Go watch my wrap-up video if you want to know more. So yeah, the next book I picked up was Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I remember I'd seen that this had won an award on Goodreads, and it just really intrigued me, the plot of this book. This one is literally in like perfect condition. Let me read the Goodreads summary because I feel it's a little bit better. The blurb on here is a little long. So it says, when Bree Prescott arrives in the sleepy lakeside town of Pelion, Maine, she hopes against hope that this is the place where she will finally find the peace she so desperately seeks. On her first day there, her life collides with Archer Hale, an isolated man who holds a secret agony of his own, a man no one else sees. Archer's Voice is the story of a woman chained to the memory of one horrifying night, and the man whose love is key to her freedom. It is the story of a silent man who lives with an excruciating wound, and the woman who helps him find his voice. It is the story of suffering, fate, and the transformative power of love. So essentially it's a romance, but it kind of sounds like it's away from that kind of like cheesy romance genre. So I'm really intrigued to see how this reads and what I think of it, because I know it's super popular. Then I picked up Checkmate from Ali Hazelwood. I honestly don't know a lot about this one, but I read Ali Hazelwood, The Love Hypothesis in February, and if you watched my sort of like cozy reading romance vlog, you would have seen me talk about it, and I really enjoyed that. So I thought I'd give another Ali Hazelwood a go. They had this one on Book Outlet, so I was like, why not? What I gather, it's about a girl that plays chess and that she was like giving it up or something, but then she gets like hooked back into the game after like winning some final tournament. I'm gathering there's going to be a romance story here because I think Ali Hazelwood is primarily a romance author. But again, another one I'm looking forward to reading. Then I got Foxglove by Adeline Grace. This is the second book in a series. So it goes Belladonna, then Foxglove. Belladonna was actually a book that my TBR jar kind of led me to picking. So I will be reading that this coming month. And so now I have the second book ready to go. I kind of feel quite confident that I'm going to like Belladonna. I picked it up ages ago because it sounded really interesting, and I've heard a lot of good things about it since. Like recently, I've seen a lot of booktubers talking about it. I've actually had it on my TBR now, I want to say, for like over a year. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to read that, and then obviously the second part. So obviously I can't really talk about the plot of this because I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, a good buy. So next I got Nicholas Sparks' The Return. I love a good Nicholas Sparks book. I just feel like his romances are always so emotional. Yes, they're a little predictable. I know he often gets criticised for this because... So I'm sorry, from this point you are stuck with a voiceover because my microphone cut out, but it was only for the last 4 books, so I didn't want to re-record the whole video. But as I was saying about this Nicholas Sparks book, essentially, it really grabbed my attention because I think there's a slight mystery element to this one. It does have the standard Nicholas Sparks cheesy romance, but it also has this mystery side. So what I gather the plot is that
a guy gets injured in Afghanistan. He moves back into his late grandfather's house. Then he meets a girl, there's the love story, but there's this side story that, maybe there's some suspicious circumstances to his grandfather's death. And then I think that starts with a bit of a mystery with some other girl in the town. So yeah, a bit different this one sounds, so I'm intrigued. So I'm really excited to read this at some point. And I also feel like Nicholas Sparks is perfect summer reading for me. So the next book is One Tree Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've read a couple of Taylor Jenkins Reid books before, and I've loved all of them. And they had this one, so I thought I'd give it a go. I didn't really know what it was about, so I picked it up. But what I gather is that there is a woman who is in love with this guy. They get married, they go on a trip, and during this trip he goes missing. And obviously, I assume that's pretty devastating. It's about her then having to move on with her life, with him being missing. She ends up getting engaged to someone else, and then he suddenly returns. And she has this whole dilemma of like, she loves two men, she's married to one, she's engaged to the other, and who to choose. Which sounds really, really emotional, actually, because I can imagine that being so difficult, such an awful situation. So, yeah, I've not read a book with a similar plot before, I don't think, so I guess we will see what I think of this one. And then the next one we have is The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. This is a book that I've wanted to read for a long time. I have definitely had it saved to like my Amazon wishlist. I don't know, for probably 3 or 4 years, honestly. I don't know why it piqued my interest so much, but I just saw it around a lot of the time, and I think it won a Goodreads award. I seem to remember reading on there that it had won one of their awards, and it just really intrigued me. Again, I don't know a lot about the plot, but a quick summary from Amazon is that city girl Calla Fletcher attempts to reconnect with her estranged father and unwittingly finds herself torn between her desire to return to the bustle of Toronto and a budding relationship with a rugged Alaskan pilot in this masterful new romance. So I guess we will see as I read it whether I like it, but it definitely has been one that, I don't know, I've just felt very drawn to. And yay, we have reached the final book, which is Alice Hoffman, Magic Lessons, which I am really, really, really excited to read. So one of my favourite movies is Practical Magic, which was made in the 90s with Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch that movie because it's so good. And it is based on a book from a series, and this is book 1 in the Practical Magic series called Magic Lessons. So this is about their ancestor, and essentially the Owen sisters in Practical Magic have a curse where if they fall in love with someone, the man will die. And this story is following the life of the ancestor that made that curse. So we will learn why that curse came into play. So I am so excited to find this out because I love Practical Magic so much, and I just really want to immerse myself in this world. So I have high hopes for this book, so hopefully I'm not disappointed. Okay, I told a lie. There was one more. We have Abby Jimenez, Just for the Summer. So as I said before, I've just really enjoyed Part of Your World, and they had Just for the Summer, so I thought I should pick that up as well. A online book club that I join in with is actually doing the new Abby Jimenez release for April as their book club choice, so I probably will be reading that first. But from what I gather with all her books, they don't really follow an order. They just have Easter eggs of other books. So it shouldn't matter if I read the new one first before I get back to yours truly and this one Just for the Summer. But I love a good romance. I loved Part of Your World, so I am really looking forward to just reading much more Abby Jimenez this summer. Okay, so that is everything now, everyone. And I was just so excited to do this book haul. I have just never had so many books in one go. Yeah, super, super, super exciting for me. And please let me know what your favourites are, if there's any I should read really soon because you love them, if there's any you're interested in. And yeah, I just can't wait to hear your thoughts. And I will see you again real, real soon. Bye!